Hi everybody, Dr. Carlos from Golden Era Bookworm here, and today we're going to be talking about the coming season, the festive season, something that is, you could say, indirectly affecting one's training. And what I mean, of course, is with the festive season coming up, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, it's very important, in my opinion, to make time to see friends and family. And I'm bringing this topic up specifically. I know this is a bodybuilding channel, but as I said, I believe that as a human being, it is not just important to take care of one's health and even the way one dresses and looks underneath one's clothing, but also it's important to develop one's mind and one's spirit, one's social capabilities. Right? This makes one a complete person. And I'm bringing this topic up specifically because one of my clients mentioned that he was feeling unmotivated, especially because he lives alone and it's getting dark outside. It's becoming winter here in the Northern Hemisphere in Europe, right? And I thought it was a very, very important topic to discuss. As men, I think it's very important to come together, right? And I don't necessarily want to talk about camaraderie right now. That could be a topic for another day. But I've got some notes, and I think it's very important to go through. He mentioned that here in Europe, of course, and I've noticed that myself, right? Winter time is can be a depressing time for some people. And sure, he even mentioned, I could get more sunlight or get some vitamin D, and I recommend, of course, supplementing with some supplements like vitamin D, 10,000 units, 10,000 international units a day, with vitamin K2, MK7, to prevent calcium being removed from your bones and depositing into your arteries. You want to take the vitamin K2 in combination, 100 micrograms, if you're taking 10,000 international units of vitamin D or above. It's just a little tip for you guys there, right? And yeah, vitamin D is very important because we're here, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, we don't have much sunlight. Today is actually a very nice sunny day, but typically it gets very, very cold, and that prevents us from going out. There's also a lot of rain and snowfall and overcast weather, so it's very difficult to get sunlight. Plus, as we approach the winter solstice on the 21st of December, it just gets darker and darker. I mean, I go to work, it's pitch black when I leave home, and when I come back from work, it's also pitch black. So it doesn't help, right? Okay, so basically, I responded to him in saying things like, well, look, I think it's a very important time, this festive season, right? You have the opportunity to see your family and develop relationships with other people and experience joy in your life, right? And I think it's very important to give some examples, right? Just to bring all this conversation into context. I remember a long time ago when I went to the Himalayas. It was in the kind of like the 2000s, right? I was soul searching, I have to admit. And I was traveling in the mountains because, there I could really hear my thoughts, go into deep meditation and just not have outside influence. So I could really understand what was going on inside, right? And I'll get to that in a little moment as to why I did that. But I realized a very fundamental truth. I realized that humans should not be alone. They're not meant to be alone, right? We as human beings need to be with other people, right? And sure, let's not make this, sound like mountain hiking is not beautiful. Being out in nature is absolutely spectacular. I mean, the Himalayas here in the Alps and other places, the Andes, that I've visited during these times, and even still to this day, beautiful, very relaxing, right? But I realized that as human beings, one should not be alone. Um, it dawned on me, as well, that when I saw people traveling in groups, so hiking in groups, organized groups, they seem to be more cheerful, motivated, challenging each other. Whereas when I actually went that time to the Himalayas alone with a Sherpa, just me and him. Not much conversation, kind of a dreary atmosphere in many days. And I actually found myself, now that I remember, seeking interaction with other people. I couldn't wait to get to designated posts because that would be an opportunity to speak to other people, right? And that was actually made it more fun when I interacted with other people, right? You know, I also saw other people hiking alone and they just weren't talking. And maybe that's the way they wanted to deal with things. But they didn't seem very, very happy, right? So I hope I'm making that point very clear. And this kind of made me think, excuse me, I got a bit of a sniffle, that if you want to live your life alone, I think you must have gone, at least it may be for some cases, that you may have gone through some serious trauma or something really negative occurred in your life, and maybe you want some distance from people, and that's, I guess, fine. But I think in the long run, that's not very helpful, and it could actually probably be damaging, right? Again, in my personal opinion, humans need people, other people, good people, of course, positive people that are going to have a positive effect in your life. And I think it's also very important to have people in your life to find happiness. And this is a very important thing, I think, that I'm going to say right now, because I think true happiness in our life is found in not what we gain materialistic, whether it be money or things or like my collection back there. That's temporary happiness. I think true happiness is found when you're able to share this journey and experience of life with somebody else, especially somebody else that appreciates you and that you love back. Right? That's the ultimate happiness, in my opinion. And that can be found with your own children, if you're lucky enough to have some, with your own spouse or wife, if you're lucky enough to have found that kind of soul mate, right? And of course that goes into another direction too, but my point is that sharing it with other people that you can really relate to, that you can have a relationship with, is very, very important and really will make your life happier, right? There's a whole reason I'm saying this, right? So yeah, that's the first set of notes. I want to give another example, back to my mountain hiking days. I remember it was in the 2000s. I was hiking because I'd had some bad relationships with women, right? I didn't necessarily look for them, but I had some bad experiences, and I thought to myself, any more of this and I'm going to end up being a monk in a kung fu monastery. And I actually did go to some, right? And very much contemplated staying there, right? But I didn't, because I came to this fundamental realization that I'm all alone here. This is depressing. I need people, right? That's what I came to realize in all this soul searching. I was hiking, as I said, in the Andes and in the Himalayas mainly. And at the time I was working as a research scientist in Sydney, and I had some work friends there that I really, kind of miss still, because they were really great people in Australia. And they said, Carlos, have you seen the movie Into the Wild? It's about this guy, right, that goes off into the wilderness and wants to live by himself. It came out in 2007. I highly recommend people watch it. And I said, okay, I'll watch it. I watched it. The guy goes out there's people during his journey, right, trying to interact with him, to bond with him, make relationships. And even one old man, almost his heart breaks when he leaves, right, because he bonded with him, and it was like he was treating him like his son, right, and he leaves. As in the young man leaves, right, broke the old man's heart. Later on, whether it's months or years later, I don't know, he's found dead, right, in Alaska in an abandoned bus, okay? And I remember seeing the movie, he's crying, he's asking for help, and he realizes how stupid he was, that he needed people. And that's the one thing he was escaping from every single time. And when I came back from my hikes and stuff and watched the movie, and my friend said, I think you'd relate with this guy. I just looked at them and said, I watched the movie and I think the guy was an absolute idiot. And they were like shocked, And I said, yeah, what an idiot, And they couldn't believe that, because they thought I was the kind of person that didn't want to build relationships, which is completely wrong. As I said, I came to that realization up in the mountains. And I said, this guy, given opportunity again and again to bond with people, rejects them all, and at the end of his life realizes what an idiot he is and cries and dies, right? So I could not relate with this person whatsoever, and I explained why. And I said, people need people. We human beings are not supposed to be alone, right? And that is the fundamental truth that I learned from my experiences, right? And why am I saying all this? Well, I come back to the beginning of the video to wrap things up, This is the beginning of the festive season. This weekend we have Halloween, right? Shortly after, there's Thanksgiving parties and Christmas, right? And in my opinion, the best way to spend this festive season, when it's getting dark in the Northern Hemisphere especially, cold and miserable, is to spend it with other people, with your family, with your friends, right? When you look back at history, I apologize, I am wrapping up, but you guys know me. I like talking about things, and especially the history. If you look back at the history, especially of Europe, you'll find that for millennia, they've been celebrating during winter, finding almost excuses to get together and have fun, right? Like the Yule tide, right? You look into the story and you know what I mean. That kind of pagan tradition became Christmas, or became, I should say, associated with Christmas, right? That's an example of people coming together when it is dark, when it is cold, where you can easily get depressed, it's miserable, and they come together and have fun, right? And that still exists today. Is it any surprise that during the cold season there are so many festivities, right? And to wrap things up, right, I say to my clients and to anyone that's listening, use this opportunity during this festive season. Go have fun. Go see your friends, see your family. Forgo an occasional workout at the gym, right? Sure, you're disciplined, sure you've got goals, and I guess this does not apply if you're actually a couple of weeks off from a competition. Fair enough, you've worked hard for that, and that's fine, that's a different category. But for the average gym goer, does it really hurt you to sacrifice one workout, right, that develops your body further? Is it worth sacrificing the opportunity to develop your relationships with other people, to develop you more socially, to keep you more healthy holistically, right? Mind, body, soul. Right? I don't think so. I think you should go out there. Make merry the season, right? Doesn't mean you have to go out and binge drink and eat crap. No, my point is go out and associate with other people, build relationships, right? It's very important. See your friends and family. Right? Again, Halloween's coming up, Thanksgiving, Christmas. People want to meet up and get happy. So don't miss out on these opportunities, right? to be around people, to make friends, to make relationships, right? And believe me, with all that missing out of workouts, you're going to come back to the gym with more zeal, with more motivation to really attack the weights. So that's what I wanted to say today. I hope you've enjoyed this rant from myself. But, you know, I thought it was important to say, you know, as you know, amateur bodybuilders, we're all very focused and disciplined. But don't forget to spend time with your family and friends during the festive season. You'll be happier for it. And on the note, if you want to make more friends, I invite you to join my school community where we talk, of course, about golden era bodybuilding. Not just golden era bodybuilding, but silver era bodybuilding, bronze era techniques and bodybuilding as well. I invite you to join my school community. Details are given below. And that's all I want to say. Thanks for watching. This is Dr. Carlos from Golden Era Bookworm saying bye for now. Head to www.goldenerabookworm.com for the biggest range of classic old school bodybuilding books as ebooks, e-magazines such as Iron Man and Reg Park Journal, high quality bodybuilding posters of the Golden Era stars, merchandise and classic gymwear featuring Steve Reeves, Marvin Eder, John Grimmick, Reg Park, and many other Golden Era stars. For those wishing to build a classic physique, lose fat and build muscle, online training is also available. Collectibles such as rare autographed photos from the Golden Era stars are also available, and to collaborate, please get in touch. Now, if you're interested in learning more about Vince Gironda's approach to bodybuilding, his principles, and all these tips of wisdom that he has, I mean, there's so much stuff that probably hasn't been proven by science, and it will take science to prove or disprove Vince. But to be honest, these 3 books, I believe, which I call the Classic Physique Bundle, are the best books that Vince ever came out with. And they, of course, are the Wild Physique, the Master Series, and the Pro Series. Have a look at it this way. The Wild Physique, I believe, is like the ABCs of Vince Gironda's principles to bodybuilding. He teaches you the exercises and his principles. But how do you put them together? Well, the Master Series is a 14-month program of using all of these principles, all of the diets that Vince came out with, all of the exercises. And of course, the Pro Series was a book that he came out with later on, specially targeted for getting into competition. It's just these 3 books, as I call it, the Classic Physique Bundle, are Vince's best work, and available, of course, at www.goldenerabookworm.com.